Welcome to the Strategic Brief. Today we're mapping out a high-stakes geopolitical flashpoint. From Washington to Jerusalem, from the North Sea to Southeast Asia, we're looking at how power players are reshaping alliances, projecting force, and rewriting the rules. Let's dive in. Okay, let's unpack this. If you look at this stack of source material, the central thread is pretty clear.
It really is.
Power is shifting, and technology is the new high-stakes currency. We're not talking about oil barrels anymore, we're talking about advanced chips, autonomous drones, directed energy.
The whole strategic order is genuinely evolving right before our eyes.
And the perfect opening example, I think, is this new dynamic between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. It kind of defines this entire shift.
It absolutely does.
So first up, Trump, MBS, and what some are calling the trillion-dollar reset. We saw Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman land in Washington.
Full red carpet welcome from President Trump.
Right, a major thaw in relations. This isn't just a warming of ties. This is a strategic recalibration.
100%. And when you look behind the fanfare, you see this powerful triangulation forming.
What's that?
It's technology, military might, and of course, cash. It's a very different relationship than the old oil for security deal we've seen for decades.
Tell us more about the technology piece, because that feels like the real novelty here, the linchpin.
It is. It is. Saudi Arabia is making no secret of its huge AI compute ambitions.
Right.
And to get there, to build that national AI infrastructure, they need the highest-end U.S. chips, the kind that can run large language models, power strategic systems.
And our sources say the Trump administration has already approved those high-end chip exports to Riyadh.
That's what's being reported, yes.
So we're essentially trading access to strategic digital infrastructure for deeper ties.
Precisely. In today's world, control over who gets top-tier AI compute power is, well, it's arguably a greater strategic asset than missile systems.
The chips are the keys to the kingdom.
They really are. The keys to future economic and military dominance. And you pair that with a deepening defense pact that could finally deliver F-25s to Riyadh. And you can see the alliance is being rebuilt on this new high-tech foundation.
So what about the symbolic cost? I mean, Trump is giving MBS what looks like a clean slate, essentially reframing his image on the world stage, despite the continued shadow of the Khashoggi killing.
It's a very purely transactional calculation. The priority for the U.S. here seems to be locking in strategic security and tech cooperation with a key regional player.
And by offering this reset, this access to critical tech.
The administration is defining the relationship by mutual strategic gains. It's effectively sidelining past controversies for future alignment.
And that idea that transactional, almost business-like diplomacy, it seems to be a running theme right now, which, leads us perfectly from the Gulf to Eastern Europe.
Agreed. That transactional style is being translated directly into attempts at, major conflict resolution or maybe conflict freezing.
Right. So now we're moving to reports that Trump is promoting a new Ukraine peace proposal. The idea is to push for a ceasefire to try and recalibrate the balance of power between Kyiv and Moscow. Details are, they're under very tight wraps.
What's fascinating here is how this is being driven by a political figure positioning himself as the ultimate global dealmaker. He's applying that business playbook directly to geopolitics.
A bold attempt to press a reset button.
A very bold attempt on a conflict that is just bogged down global politics.
But applying that kind of transactional logic to territorial disputes, that's so risky. What are the critics saying?
The main criticism, and it's very pointed in the source material, is that the plan could grant too much leverage, territorial or political, to Russia.
So a rushed ceasefire might end up rewarding aggression.
That's the fear. That it would allow Moscow to keep some of its current gains, effectively stabilizing the conflict on terms that are favorable to the aggressor.
It really highlights that tension, doesn't it? The tension between stopping the violence now versus preserving international legal principles. It's a classic dilemma, just filtered through a business lens.
It is, and how it gets resolved will likely define the long-term stability of Europe.
So, from high-stakes deal-making, we see a parallel risk manifesting in another theater. The so-called gray zone. Let's switch our focus entirely to the North Sea.
Right. The Russian probes of critical infrastructure.
This is a textbook example of gray zone warfare, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Low intensity, ambiguous aggression. It's designed to test an adversary's red lines without crossing the threshold into, outright conventional war.
And this incident involved the Russian vessel Yantar. It's notorious for its suspected role in mapping and maybe tampering with undersea communication cables.
And it was just loitering there, north of Scotland.
But the escalation here is key. The Yantar allegedly directed lasers at RAF surveillance pilots.
High-intensity lasers, which moves beyond simple intelligence gathering. That's a direct act of hostile provocation against a NATO asset.
Wait, lasers? What's the point of shining lasers at pilots? Is it just harassment, or is there a tactical goal?
The tactical goal is usually temporary incapacitation, maybe blinding their surveillance gear or just intimidating the crew. But the real strategic message is the probe itself.
And those undersea cables are incredibly vulnerable.
Profoundly vulnerable. They carry 99% of global internet traffic financial data. If the Yantar can map them, the implication is they can be cut. That's an existential threat.
Which makes the UK's response here incredibly significant. They didn't just issue a diplomatic protest.
No, they upgraded their rules of engagement.
How so?
They deployed a frigate and reconnaissance aircraft to actively shadow the Russian ship. This isn't a passive watch anymore. It's an active deterrence maneuver.
And the UK Defense Secretary, John Healey, made sure the message was received. He publicly warned Moscow.
Yeah, he said, "We see you. If the Yantar travels south this week, we are ready."
That is a very direct public challenge.
And you need that for deterrence in the gray zone. You have to make the strategic cost, being publicly called out and shadowed by NATO, outweigh any tactical gain. It removes the ambiguity that Moscow thrives on.
Okay, let's pivot now to the Middle East. It remains a central global battleground, but it's defined by these two powerful contradictory narratives happening at the same time.
It really is. On one side, you have this mounting institutional pressure, especially from human rights bodies.
And that can really impact international policy, arms sales.
Usually.
This pressure is coming most immediately from a new, sweeping report by Human Rights Watch, HRW, accusing Israel of crimes against humanity. They detail the forcible displacement of tens of thousands of Palestinians from camps in the West Bank, Jenin, Tulkarm, Nur Shams.
And the report is very specific about the evidence. It's not just anecdotal. They cite satellite imagery and eyewitness accounts showing hundreds of homes demolished.
And crucially, the displaced have allegedly not been allowed to return, which suggests a deliberate attempt to reshape the demographics there.
Yeah.
And the political call to action from HRW is intense. They want international prosecutions, sanctions, a suspension of all arms sales.
That kind of report puts immense strain on Israel's diplomatic relationships, especially with allies who are sensitive to these international legal obligations.
And yet, almost at the same moment, we see this stark demonstration of immediate global counterterrorism needs.
The other side of the coin.
A major Mossad-led action right across Europe.
Correct. And this shows the dual reality Israel is operating in. In a coordinated crackdown across Germany and Austria, Mossad worked with European intelligence to dismantle what's being called a wide Hamas network.
So we're talking about cells preparing attacks, stockpiling weapons, building logistics pipelines, right in the heart of Europe.
Exactly. And Israeli intelligence is calling it the Hamas octopus. It's a compelling metaphor, right? It emphasizes this decentralized, multi-tentacled global reach of the organization.
A stark reminder that the battleground extends far beyond Gaza and the West Bank.
It's global, and it requires these deep, cooperative intelligence efforts.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have Israel facing this mounting international criticism for its long-term strategy, while at the very same time, it's relying on deep intelligence cooperation to fight an immediate global threat.
That's the conflict of priorities perfectly stated. The reliance on Western partners to dismantle threats like the octopuses complicates those same partners' ability to enact the sanctions and arms suspensions that organizations like HRW are calling for. It's a very complex bind.
Speaking of complexity and global reach, let's finish where we started, with this rapid acceleration of technology. The military race is now defined by how fast nations can field these new systems.
Directed energy, integrated autonomous systems.
Yeah.
This isn't theory anymore. These things are moving from the lab bench to the battlefield fast.
It's the future of force projection.
Sure.
Take the UK Royal Navy. By 2027, they aim to deploy high-energy laser systems on their drones. I mean, that sounds like science fiction.
It does, but the tactical logic is completely sound. These laser systems are designed to disable enemy electronics and, crucially, destroy incoming UAVs.
And the strategic shift here is immense.
It is, because traditional defense against drones, using a $2 million missile to shoot down a $20,000 drone, that's just not fiscally sustainable.
Lasers, though, cost mere dollars per shot.
Exactly. So it's not just about being high-tech, it's about solving an economic problem in warfare. The ability to deploy cheap defense against drone swarms.
So this move toward directed energy is symbolic, but it's also tactically precise because it fundamentally alters the cost calculus.
Absolutely. And here's where it gets really interesting. The U.S. Air Force is doing something similar but different. They're merging their most advanced stealth fighters with autonomous drones.
We saw this in that recent combat flight test with the F-22 Raptors and the Avenger drone.
Right. And that test gives you a crystal clear window into the next generation of air dominance. The goal is a unified system where the human pilot in the stealth fighter controls a flight of these loyal autonomous drones.
What does that actually look like in practice?
Yeah.
How is the drone helping the F-22?
The drone acts as a wingman, a sensor, and an extra weapons platform all at once. It can fly into contested airspace ahead of the F-22, draw fire, absorb risk.
So it extends the pilot's senses and reach.
Exactly. It extends sensor range, can fire its own weapons, all while the pilot maintains strategic oversight from a safer distance.
For military planners, this has to be the definition of force multiplication. You take one expensive, high-risk assay and give it the capability of a small fleet.
And you do it without putting more human pilots in harm's way. It lowers risk, increases lethality, and creates a much more flexible, resilient air war mix than we've ever seen before.
Technology isn't just upgrading the capability, it's redefining the entire mission.
The whole concept.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of this rapidly shifting landscape? We've covered a remarkable amount of ground today.
We really have. We've seen old rivalries being renegotiated with new currencies, the U.S.-Saudi reset cemented by microchips, not just oil.
We've seen contested territories in Ukraine and the North Sea where this transactional diplomacy and these gray zone probes are just dominating the conversation.
And we've seen the incredible speed of military tech, from high-energy lasers becoming operational to AI-linked drones defining the future of air superiority.
The conclusion we draw from all of these sources is that the strategic order is fundamentally evolving under our gaze. New fault lines are forming, and they're often centered not on borders, but on access to cutting-edge technology.
That technology is the engine driving every single one of these changes. The rules are genuinely being rewritten by technical capability.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to consider. Given that advanced chips are now a core component of geopolitical resets, like we see with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia, how quickly will the global pursuit of AI ambitions supersede or totally redefine traditional military alliances in the next 5 years? Will we soon see alliances based primarily on shared access to compute power rather than geography? Something to think about as this new technological currency gains unmatched value.
If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us dig deeper into these stories, and you become part of a community that understands how tomorrow's world really works.